Shot Clock Podcast. Welcome to episode 2 from our Wellness Week bunch of episodes. Hope you all enjoyed Monday's episode with Aoife Callahan. I thought it was really informative. Today's episode is with DCU Mercy captain, Irish international, owner and founder of Next Generation Health. It's Hannah Thornton. Wellness Week here on the Shot Clock Podcast. Today's guest is current DCU Mercy captain, Ireland international, owner and founder of Next Generation Health. Hannah Thornton, how are you? Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
No problem. So look, we've been in this weird and wonderful world for a year and a half. There's light at the end of the tunnel. How does it feel to be finally back out and training and getting on with your life?
I feel very lucky because I know that a lot of people can't train, especially indoors at the minute. But it is definitely helping me big time. I really didn't actually realize how much of an impact it had on my life, like playing basketball and like meeting up with your friends and having that couple of hours away. But I was like a kid at Christmas, like coming the night before our first training, I couldn't sleep. And then when we came back, I was giddy, like so giddy. And it has just been the best. Like our trainings aren't like, they're only once a week with the full team, and it's just so much fun to be back playing again. Can't explain it. Like, and I know I'm very lucky because a lot of people, especially, I wouldn't be able to train outside. I fall way too much to be falling. I'm too old to be falling outside on that concrete. But it's no, it's the best to be back. Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things. You say, I'm so lucky to train, but it's not luck didn't bring you to the Irish team.
Yeah.
It was hard work. And that's why you get to train. You are an elite athlete. You know what I mean? You've got the special dispensation. Yeah. So, it's not all luck. It's been hard work over the years as well.
Yeah, we were classified as elite athletes. So we could go, if you were allowed to be in a hall, you could go into a hall like on your own. So since I think the end of January, we've been allowed to go one-on-one. Like DCU have let me in, and playing basketball by yourself for like 3 months, it's hard, like it's really hard. So it's been the hard, like everybody put in the work, like we were all training by our own and doing Zoom meetings and stuff like that. So it kind of, the waiting game has finally paid off for us, I guess. Yeah.
Excellent. Look, it's great that you're back. I've seen some clips from your training sessions. It just looks like so much fun being indoors.
It's so fun. And I'm so competitive, but I talk so much on the court, so I'm like over every time someone does something. It's like I've never played basketball before. They're like, "And are you okay?" And I'm like, "Great shot." I'd be like, "No, you're playing against us." I'd be like, "Yeah, okay, let's keep going." Like it's just.
Well, look, I'm looking forward to is getting my kids back inside. I've under 16 girls. We're training tonight. I have an academy, and then I have my seniors. But just getting back into a hall where you're not worried about people tripping and ripping their knees open, grazing hands, the use of a bathroom. Who knew that was such an important part of basketball, is having a working bathroom? Because I've lost players for like half an hour where you go, I'm just going to nip home. Like, oh, right, okay, cool. I'll see you in 20 minutes. Like, but
it's hard, yeah. And especially like I find that when people go back to training, they drink loads the day off or like the day before, because they're like, oh, I must be hydrated. Like I haven't trained in ages, but like they spend half the time in the bathroom because they just drank so much the whole day. Like, no, it's hard, yeah. But hopefully you'll be indoors soon.
Hopefully. Rumor has it July.
So you never know.
So look, we'll get started. As I said, this is our Return to Basketball Wellness Week. So I'm going to have strength and conditioning, yourself on about nutrition, sports psychologist. I have a Wim Hof instructor on to talk us through breathing and cold weather work. So that's the ace up my sleeve. So just something different, you know what I mean? And like I said to you off camera, it's a bit selfish, you know what I mean? I'm 45. I'm carrying 1 or 2 kilos stone more than I should be. So I was like, what do I need to do to get in shape and get ready for the season? I was like, I know, I'll get Hannah on and talk nutrition. So well look, we'll go back to your basketball career before we could jump into all of this. So who, what or why inspired you to play basketball for the first time?
I was kind of late to the game. I started in primary school, and I think I was about 8 or 9. And my mum's best friend had set up a basketball team, like she was the coach. And mum was like, "You need to play because A, you're tall." And I hadn't really like thought about basketball beforehand. And then B, like she needs numbers. And I was like, "Oh, okay, great." But then we had our then Jerome and Carlitos came in, and then it kind of got a bit more serious. And then I think that summer I went to California and we saw like Lisa Leslie play and Shaq. Actually, my sister got Lisa Leslie's jersey. I got Shaq's jersey because and I kind of like that whole year. I just was like, oh wow, this is kind of massive, and it all just kind of went. It clicked into play, and then it kind of opened my eyes. And then when I went to Holy Faith, like 2 years above me, I had like Leah Westbrooks, I had Sarah McGrath, I had Becky and Sarah Woods. Like I just had so many girls that I was fortunate to play with, but then also look up to at the same time. And that was just a perfect environment for me to kind of grow as a player, but then also to kind of get me into the serious world that is basketball. So it was just kind of a little bubble that we had gotten, because Jerome Westbrooks coached in my primary school, but then he also coached in my secondary school, and they're around the corner from each other. So I was like, oh, well, I might as well just follow the troops around.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, and that was kind of it. And then like of course you have like the greats that from like once I grew older, I understood like who the female role models were from Ireland, like Susan Moran and all these people that have like played here and done such wonderful things. And then, but yeah, that was kind of the early days of my basketball career. Yeah.
And then through basketball, obviously, you got over to the University of North Colorado, and that's obviously where you got into your whole strength, well, SNC training first, and then into nutrition. So your
So
basketball kind of led into your career, which is unbelievable.
it did. I really didn't know. Like I was all right in school, but I wasn't exceptionally smart. I wasn't great, but I was fine.
You're underselling yourself.
No, I wasn't really like a nerd, and I like I got by, but I definitely tried. I definitely did every sport to make sure that I wasn't in school, like every athletics, every team, whatever. So when I got to the States, I remember mom and dad being like, "Well, what are you going to study?" Because like they're basically paying for your education, so like get a good degree. And I was like, "Oh, okay, grand." And I've always been interested in sports, and what I found when I went over there, especially back then, so that was like 10 years ago. Oh my God, I'm so old. 10 years ago, I went over. I,
So
30 this, I'm 30 this year. When I went over, I was so far behind compared to the rest of the girls. Like they had already been doing S&C. They had like one-to-one sessions with like these whopper coaches. Like they knew what they were eating. And I felt like I was like, oh, I'm really far behind. So then I got interested in strength conditioning because we obviously started doing that with the program. So I was like, oh, that could be a good path for me to go down. But then I ended up double majoring. So I got 2 degrees. I got sports, exercise, and science, and I needed like a general nutrition degree as well, because you do summer school over there. So it's actually it's kind of, it's not easy, I guess, but it's doable and it's definitely manageable. So I was like, oh, I might as well do this. So that's kind of where it all began, I guess. And I realized playing at the intensity that we were playing at, and the food and how important it is. And it's still like, it would be such a different experience now, because I feel education and knowledge and research has played such a vital part for like especially colleges in America, whereas back then it wasn't massive, but you could definitely see, okay, so I probably shouldn't eat this, but I should probably eat this. And yeah, that's kind of how it all began, I guess. Yeah.
and here we are. Here we
And
are
here we are.
talking nutrition.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to come back. I spent about 6 years over there, including like after college. I spent a couple of years working in youth facilities for basically athletes trying to get scholarships, because there's such a demand put on young people because colleges are so expensive. So there's like these amazing training facilities everywhere. And I worked there for a while, and I realized that I wanted to come back and help what I would have wanted when I was growing up. I like, I want to come back. I never knew that I should have been going to a nutritionist. Like I thought chicken fillet rolls are grand, you know, like kind of thing.
I've seen your video the other day on Instagram. My God, it made me laugh. So funny, but so Irish.
So Irish. Like it's either you eat nothing and you haven't eaten anything, or you're like, I'm gonna pick up like a roll. It's just about spreading the education, and that's what I wanted to do. So that's kind of the main reason I did come home, was to set up Next Generation Health and kind of help the younger generation that I wish I would have had, and help them as much as I can. So
Brilliant. Yeah. So I threw it out to my podcast listeners, all 10 of them. Right, it's slightly more than 10. But I threw out some questions, asked them what they wanted to know, because like most people, you know, are basketball players or ex-players or coaches that tune in. So I threw the questions out. This is what came back, and then I've one or two questions for you as well, and then we'll jump back in with your sport as well and your playing career as well while we're going through these. So first question I had was, what sort of calorie intake should a male teenager have for 5 sessions a week? So he's playing basketball and lifting weights. So he's looking at what should he be eating roughly? Because obviously, because nutrition's an exact science, and we can't do exact science right now.
Yeah. So as I was going to say, before I say anything, nutrition is so specific, excuse me, to absolutely everybody. So this will be general answers. So take it with a pinch of salt, if you might. And if you've got any questions, I would recommend going to see a nutritionist, especially for you, because, or not you, but this player.
I definitely need to.
But everybody is so specific. Like I always say, like if you look at your basketball team, like not one person is the same. So they're all playing different positions. And even if somebody is playing the same position, they're going to be completely different body types. If you look at an NBA team, if you look at like Steph Curry and who else plays for like Draymond Green or whatever, okay, two completely different body types. There's no way they eat the same food. No. Like they have the same goals to win, but their nutritional status and then their nutritional intake should be like completely different. So I always say this to young people and any age of athlete: never compare yourself to whatever the person is eating beside you or anything like that, and don't go off what other people are eating, and don't go off social media, because that's not where you get accurate information from. No, it's not real life. No, but just it's very, very specific. Okay, so I've said my piece. For someone training, a young guy training 5 times a week, like you're going to want to make sure that you're eating enough. Like, so his goals might be to add on muscle or to lose fat. There could be many different factors that go in. Probably at least 2,300 calories, like probably more, 2,500, probably more. Like I would have to take a lot into consideration, but I would probably say he's not eating enough. And I've never met the guy, but I find that quite apparent, especially in young Irish players, that they do not eat enough. And we have this ballpark figure that everybody should be eating like 1,600 calories or 70. Like, no, if you're an athlete, you need to eat to fuel you, and that's the most important thing. So I would probably say he's not eating enough. If he wants to message me, I'll help him work it out. If he wants that, yeah.
So for a 45-year-old,
yeah.
See, my issue is, as I said, I'm a chef, so I'm eating from 6 a.m, and it's under the guise of tasting. But I'm tasting all day, and it's very hard to work out my calorie intake, because it's a spoon of the chicken dish, it's a spoon of the chickpea dish, it's a spoon of a sauce, it's a nightmare for me trying to get back and trying to lose those last stubborn, I'm gonna say it's baby weight, you know what I mean? But like, I've never had a child, but like, hey, I'm just putting it down to, like, I have 3 kids. Can I claim their baby weight? I don't know whether this works or not.
What I say to, especially like shift workers, because you're kind of like a shift worker, you
Absolutely,
work and I recommend it for shift workers. I don't recommend it for athletes. Is intermittent fasting. So And I sympathize with you, because I can't imagine trying to work out the calorie and the nutrient value of a spoonful of this and that. But if you allow yourself certain windows that you eat and then certain windows that you don't eat, that's going to be the easiest way for you and your like circadian rhythm and everything to work appropriately for you. And then you continue that. So when you're not working, you still continue that as much as possible. But that's a broad range. Again, we would have to have another conversation, another Zoom call to do all that.
Go through
But
that.
it could be something that you look at, because it's I can't imagine trying to figure that out would be quite difficult.
Yeah, my issue, Hannah, is my window to eat is like a really, really big window.
Right, well, it's the same as anybody else. You
It's
get
like-
up early. Get up early.
I get up, yeah. I start at 6 a.m. So by like 6:30, I could have, tried 2 or 3 different dishes at that stage. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean. And then like I said, I work till 2:30, so it's a constant. And then
So
I'm
then
getting ready to train.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
yeah.
we need a few hours. Okay,
Yeah.
we need.
That's no problem. Well, look, we'll schedule a separate Zoom call completely. Look, so we'll keep going with this. Should I increase carbs before a workout? Not me personally, just in general.
Yes. So, especially people and athletes returning to play, carbohydrates are your best friend. They are your number one source of energy. So, an easy way to figure this out is if you go back like 3 to 4 hours before a game or like a really hard training session, and you take your body weight and you multiply it by like 1 to 4. So, I would say maybe start off at 2. So you take your body weight, multiply it by 2, and that is the amount of carbohydrates that you need to be having. So like that's kind of game peak performance. But if you can understand that, like that's a lot of carbohydrates. So say for example you're 80 kilograms and you multiply by 2. So it's 160 kilograms that you need to be having at least 4 hours beforehand so that your body can digest it.
Right.
But we need that, like your body can hold excess carbohydrates. So we want to kind of fill the fuel tank as much as possible, so that when you go into the game, you have it all ready to go and you're going to be able to use it as much as possible. And then, so I would always say like 3 to 4 hours beforehand, like that would be your last big carbohydrate dense meal. So like, depending on the time that, like if you're training at night, you might have pasta or rice or potatoes. If it's a morning, for Irish team, for example, I'd have a massive bowl of porridge and like maybe a bagel or something. And then an hour before, you just want to top up those reserves ever so slightly. So it might be like 25 grams an hour beforehand, which is just something pure carbohydrates. So that might be banana or like some jellies. Again, whatever suits you, because what probably suits you wouldn't suit me. But carbohydrates for a basketball player are essential. If you are eating a diet that is low in carbohydrates, you will not perform. That is basically it. It impacts everything in basketball. It can impact your height. Like, sorry, not your height. It can impact your jump height. It can't impact your height. Sorry. It can impact how high you jump, your sprint speeds. But also a massive thing that I find is your concentration. So like you can go into a timeout, your coach says something to you, and you know when you're listening to somebody, but you actually have no clue what they're saying. And you go back out and you're like, what did he say? What are we doing? Like that's your concentration level's gone. And primarily it's from a lack of glucose in the body, which comes from carbohydrates. So you always want to, and you can increase them the day before. That's a thing called carbohydrate loading. And without getting too specific, if you have a massive game the next day, just have, a little bit more extra carbs with every meal. Or if it's a snack, make sure it's a carbohydrate rich snack, and like slowly increase the carbohydrate levels, because we can store them. We can't store excess protein, but we can store excess carbs and fats, but fats are for another day. We don't keep fats low. That's probably not a question, but keep fats low around training because they can upset your gut and GI systems and stuff like that.
Cool. So following on from that, what are your best pre and post workout meals?
Yeah. So for me, I can have a dodgy tummy when and on a good day, or like I can be fine. So I stay super bland, and I think it's the best thing to stay super bland. And also never try something new on game day or workouts. if it's like a hard training session, don't go and like try a new sandwich place that does like a pulled pork wrap or whatever. No, it's going to irritate you. You don't know how it's going to, the worst thing that could happen would be like you're running in and out of the bathroom. You don't want that during a game. So pre-match meal, stick to something that's low in fat, a good source of protein. So it could be like scrambled eggs and toast, could be like a lean beef spaghetti bolognese, it could be pancakes, Greek yogurt, anything that you like. Like I would always have porridge because it's fairly bland, honey, you want dried fruit in there to get the carbohydrate levels up, and like maybe a banana even. And then your small snack beforehand might be those jellies, like a homemade flapjack. Even I sometimes recommend like those low fat rice puddings. Do you know them? Like ambrosia or something. Yeah, they can be quite good if you like them. And a lot of people can't eat before games as well. So making sure that if you are somebody that you get so nervous you don't really like to eat, and a lot of people might feel that way when they're coming back to training. They just might be like, I feel sick. Make sure the day before, that's when you're getting your energy in. So eat loads of carbohydrates the day before, so that when you wake up the next day, you're not too reliant on, okay, I got to eat, whereas I actually can't because I'm so sick, like I'm nervous. So have those carbohydrate fuels already in from the day before. And then straight afterwards is when we want to focus on protein, because we've used all of our energy levels and we've broken down our muscles. So we want to be able to build them back up. So we want like a protein and a carbohydrate source in again. So that might be like a protein shake, or like a chocolate milk or Greek yogurt, granola, anything that you can stomach. I would say if you could have something small within the hour, like a good protein source within the hour after your training or after your game, and then later on you can kind of concentrate on a dinner. But you can even have like a chicken sandwich or something like that afterwards. Just get those protein stores back up and a bit of energy back in as well. Because we've used it all. We've used all of those stores. Yeah.
Excellent. So you stay, like you said, you stay super bland on a game day, or so.
Yeah.
A little segue there. Have you any basketball superstitions?
I do. How long have
many?
Okay. Sometimes this is weird, but they usually change every season, which is strange. But they usually do, because
believe it or not, JJ Redick, if you watch his podcast, JJ talks about his superstitions, and he loads one on nearly every season.
Oh, I love
so his routine started off like this size and is now this size, but because of COVID, it's back to this size because they're not allowed in the gym beforehand. They can't shoot the 8 million shots that he'd normally shoot. You can't eat in a certain place. So yeah, it's not that strange.
Okay. So, okay. Well, I would always, in college, I was really superstitious with like which sock I had to put on first, and my hair always had to be the same. I've kind of gone over that. Well, my hair is meant to be blonde, so we can't even talk about my hair at the minute anyway. But my main superstition would be I nearly always have to be the first person there before a game. And I've started my warm-up at home, I would say like an hour before I would leave. So like, yeah, but like that, my warm-up, I'm broken and crippled. So like it's foam rolling, it's like trigger balls, it's massage gun. I was literally using this before you called me. Yeah, I carry it everywhere with me. And then I always have my gear on before I leave the house, like my playing gear, which is a random one.
Oh, okay. I'm the opposite.
Yeah, a lot of people are.
I don't put my jersey on until after I finish my warm-up.
See, I like to be, when I've left the house, I like to be ready to go. So I'm like, oh, I could start now. I always wash my hair on game days, which is ridiculous because I have to wash it afterwards as well.
Okay.
And the food for me, I'm like, if we go away, I bring my own snacks because I just you don't know what you're going to get. Last year, it was always scrambled eggs and toast. And now this year, it's a porridge feel to it. Just don't know why, but that's what I had. I would have that even before like an evening training session. So we have training tonight and I'll probably have a bowl of porridge because I just like the way that sits in my stomach. Weird. What else have I got? Hopefully girls listen to your podcast, but I would always have mascara on and my eyebrows somewhat done. That would be the only makeup and tan. Sorry, the biggest one. Everybody's gonna flag me. I always have tan on. I cannot play a game if I don't have tan on. I'm not going.
Right. So for all the younger girls tuning in who are using you as a role model, what's your go-to tan?
Okay, so I actually have a story about this because my first Irish team, Joe Shields and who was the assistant coach? Oh, her face is there. I can't remember. Jerry Noonan's wife. Who's Jerry Noonan?
Oh, yeah, I know her name, and now I'm drawing a blank. He's gonna kill me.
Oh my god.
Anyway,
Joe wouldn't let us wear any tan. He wouldn't let us have our nails done. And we were like, this was under 16, so this was like 14, 15. And all we wanted to do was wear tan and have our nails done. But he said that it always impacted on the way, like you care more about how you look than how you play.
Okay.
I have a philosophy that if you feel good, you're going to play good. And and that sounds kind of silly, but like if you feel comfortable and your tan, like for me, not if my tan looks good, but like I feel good, I put in the work, I'm going to play good. But my tan at the minute, so girls, my tan at the minute, if you want to know my tanning regime, I've tried Bare by Vogue, and I actually support her because she's an Irish brand. So Vogue Williams, that's who I'm supporting at the minute.
That's your go-to tan. My under 16 team will be very happy, I'm sure, with your choices. And that was one of my prerequisites for this season was no tan, no nails.
It was.
Now, having listened to you, I'm going, right, okay, maybe I need to rethink this, because if you feel good, you play good, makes perfect sense to me.
It really, yeah, it does. Yeah. And not that I understand looking back, like impressionable girls, like being like, we shouldn't be concentrated on our tan or our nails. We should be like in the Euros, we were there for a reason, like we were there to play. But now I'm older and I'm like, it's kind of what makes you feel comfortable. Whenever you feel comfortable, you're going to do better. Like if you feel uncomfortable in like the gear you're wearing, or like you haven't eaten anything, you feel off, like you're not really going to play well. But if you've done like your superstitions, like some of the girls on your team might have superstitions, and some might need to put on tan. But I'm a bit drastic at the minute. I've got tan on all the time. And we had photos done on Sunday to the tan. So what?
The sun is back out now, so you know
the sun needs to be back out every single day for like 6 weeks, and I'll get a slight bit of a tan. Like I don't have time for that.
Can't see it happening.
Right, I love the way I came on to talk about nutrition. I just talked about tan for 10 minutes.
Look, I've a vast array of people who listen in. I'm sure my under 16 team would love to hear what your tan routine is. That's all. Can I just say, James Reid Organic Tan, really good stuff as well. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm wanting to try that. Really?
Yeah.
It is good. Okay, yeah. I want to try it. Yeah.
I'll talk to you off camera. I'll tell you exactly where to go. I'm not getting into it on this, so I'll tell you off camera. That's all I'm going to say. Right, so we'll get back into nutrition before I embarrass myself anymore. So, how do I calculate how much fluid I should take on board before practice or a game?
Okay, great question, because players can actually practice this now before like proper season starts. So basically, if you can weigh yourself before a training session and you can weigh yourself after a training session and drink minimal as much as possible, like it could be not one of your trainings or like a proper training, but you go for like a 45-minute run or like an hour bike, like a hard enough session, but try not to drink anything. So weigh yourself before, weigh yourself after. The difference, you're going to multiply that by 1.5, and that is the amount of liters that you need to drink over the next 4 hours to replace what you've lost.
Okay.
So it's a super easy strategy, but it's really, really good, especially now we've got time to do that before season starts so that we don't get dehydrated. Because especially with young people, they're probably training all of the time, like they're going from sport to sport to sport. So to make sure that they have replaced what they've lost is critically important. Before training, it's very specific to the person.
Okay.
So, and especially in Ireland, like a lot of people might be traveling up and down and they're not going to the bathroom, so they might drink loads when they arrive at the place, that kind of thing. But I always say that hydration starts the day before. So always have like 2 liters the day before, and as much as you can handle. Not if you're going to increase your water load at the minute. Say, for example, you listen to this podcast and you're like, oh, Hannah told me I need to drink 4 liters of water. Like you're going to be up all night going to the toilet. So don't do that. If you're realizing now I haven't really drank a lot, just increase it every single day by a glass of water. And over time, you'll understand what you need. And then that will probably be the easiest thing. Because if you just drink loads, you're obviously going to have to go to the bathroom. So small increases would be the best strategy to get to a hydration optimal point.
Following on from that, I've had this issue with like my team. Are sports energy drinks good for you?
Okay.
Is there a time and a place for them? Like, I see a lot of kids now walking around with cans of Monster in their hand, and you're going, right, that's still nothing. However, in the sports environment, are they warranted post or pre-game or in-game?
That's a perfect, what you just said is perfect. Like cans of Monster, no, if you are an athlete and you're serious about your career in basketball or sport, don't be drinking cans of Monster. It's not doing anything for you. In-game nutrition is massive. After 60 to 90 minutes of really, really hard intensity training or a game, you need to replenish carbohydrate levels. So Lucozade might come in perfectly handy then. So you won't need the whole thing, but I would always say that if you're in like, have it there with you, and take small sips of it after 60 minutes. You only need water for like 60 to 90 minutes because you have enough. Like remember, like you've eaten all of those carbohydrates, like you don't really need it. But after an hour and a half is when your body goes, oh, okay, I need to actually top up these stores now and make sure that I'm able to keep going. So that's when the energy drinks are perfect. And if you've never had an energy drink before and you're going back, because like there are underage Irish trainings going back, try one. Because if you are to try it in the middle of a training session and it doesn't agree with your tummy, it's not going to be a good thing. So if you've never tried it, try it now and like go for a run and have some and see how it feels, because it's always different when you're like your body's in like stress mode when it's working out, kind of. So it always takes in things differently. So don't like just sit there and drink and be like, oh, it's grand. Try something, go for a run, then drink it and see how it feels. But they're primarily only warranted for during activity. So just as you said, you were
perfect.
100%.
Excellent. No, it's just there's been many a debate with parents over it.
Yeah.
Because the kids are going, no, but I want the kind of and I want Red Bull, and I'm like, no, no.
Like
no.
I would only really recommend a Lucozade during a session. Monster, I wouldn't recommend. There's just too many additives, same as Red Bull. Lucozade in the middle of a session, yeah. Or if you don't like it, like jellies are fine too. But that's the only time I would say to drink it. Yeah.
Perfect, absolutely perfect. Like I said, I'm coaching under 16 girls. You were a 16-year-old girl once. You've given away that it was 14 years ago, but like, hey. Wasn't that far gone. But what advice would you give to a 16-year-old Hannah Thornton if she was sitting in front of you right now? And think before you answer this one.
I've actually, because my birthday is coming up next month, I've kind of been thinking back a lot, actually. If I could talk to my 16-year-old self, I would sit her down and I would go, this is probably going to get a bit deep, but I would say, like, don't overthink things. Just play, okay? And you're good enough to play, but try not to overthink things. I would always come back from a training session and be like, I remember those 4 or 5 things I did wrong. And that is what I remember. I don't remember the like 10 rebounds I got or whatever like that. No, like I would never ever, and I would always kind of be wary that I wasn't cocky. I never wanted to be that person like that would like think that they're better than anybody else. But if I didn't overthink things, I would just be confident. And that's what you want young 16-year-old girls to be. You just want them to be confident in what they can do and their ability and to just play. And don't, if you mess up, Ted Lasso, have you watched that series? Yeah. He said, he has that quote about being a goldfish. Do you remember that? James Weldon used
James
this the other
Weldon
day.
posted it the other day, yeah.
Weird. And he used it in the training session. And I actually love this. And I think Sarah Woods has a memory of a goldfish, and it's amazing. She could miss like 12 threes in a row and like still shoot the ball. Skylar Diggins, if you're like, especially if your girls are looking up to WNBA players, she has it on her shoes, and it reads like next play. You just need to get over what happened and continue on. Don't overthink it. Just play. Have the memory of the goldfish, couple of seconds, and forget about it. And I would love to be able to explain that to my 16-year-old self, because I think I would be a lot more relaxed, and you'd play better because you'd enjoy it more and you'd be more free, kind of thing. But that's probably what I would say. Don't overthink it. Just try and enjoy it a little bit more and be confident. As much as you can, be confident, be confident. Yeah.
Excellent. Great advice. And yeah, Ted Lasso, absolutely horrific television show, but
I thought it was really funny.
It was awful. It was awful. Great quotes, but it was awful. But like next play mentality, that's what I'm teaching this year is next play mentality. It's next play mentality. I'm where are your feet? That's my big one. Where are your feet? That be here.
Yeah.
Every time. Where are your feet? Right here, right. But be here. Don't worry about that play. Don't worry about that play. Just be here and enjoy everything that you're doing.
I love that. I'm going to use that. I love
seasons go by so quickly, and all of a sudden you're a Masters basketball player, and that's what you have to look forward to every year.
I think we can still play, I guess.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I keep saying this. This is my last season. One more year. The famous one more year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I'll ever retire again after 2 retirements. So you spoke about your game day food intake. So most Super League games are mid-afternoon to evening time. So do you have the same? Do you eat the same thing religiously every time, or if you're on a road trip?
Yeah,
obviously that plays into it as well.
So I think that's a really, really important question, because if you're on a road trip, bring your own food, because you don't know where you're going to stop. Like at McDonald's, you can eat whatever you want afterwards. Okay. I try and tell, because you always stop and get food or whatever. If you get your protein in afterwards, eat whatever you want. But on the way to a game, bring your own food, bring a sandwich. Don't try something new on game days. So yeah, I used to be like, I'm trying to think back to the season, because the season was like 2 years ago.
Years ago, I know.
I used to always get Camille the night before, and I would get like this pad and this turkey rice thing. Now I've completely gone off it, and I kind of overdid it, so I won't be having that this year. But I'm thinking about now, like we've got training on Sundays, and I'm already thinking about what I'll have the night before. But game days, yeah, I'd usually have scrambled eggs, toast in the morning, and then you're still trying to get in those carbohydrate levels. So then I might have a porridge and a banana later on if it was like a late game. And then closer to, here's the thing, I used to always eat those natural confectionery jellies. No, they didn't agree with me, but I used to always eat them. And like the gelatin or something in them, no, but I was like, oh, I need these. Nah, that was mad. It was actually mad. But I would have coffee, definitely. Don't have a coffee close to the game.
Just dehydrate.
Because it is a diuretic. And yeah, I'd probably like have some dried fruit of something closer to the game, or like half a bagel or that kind of thing. I've gone out of a particular eating routine because we haven't had a game, so I kind of have to figure that one out again. But game days, I am super bland, because I just don't want anything Okay.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, and here's a little scientific little thing for you. We can store excess carbs and excess fat. So fat, when you eat fat, so like let's say like avocados, peanut butter, like a steak, or like pulled pork, something like that. That's a real fatty cut of meat. It needs energy from the body to break down. So let's say you had a game at like 3 p.m. on a Saturday. All day Friday, you were great. You had loads of carbohydrates. You like really got your fuel tank up. And then the morning of, you went and had a pulled pork sandwich. I don't know if you would, but you went and had a pulled pork sandwich. Your body's going to go, oh, well, I need half that energy to break down all of this fat, because fat is the highest calorie dense macronutrient. So it's going to go, I need to break down. So then you go to the game and you only have half of the amount of energy that you should have had because of the fat content in food. So that's why I always eat bland, like plain food, because I don't want to A, do that, or B, like have a distressed gut, which is very important.
Pre-game, yeah, absolutely. So I've a curveball question for you here. Okay. So a source who shall remain nameless sent me a message earlier on and said, I have to quote this quote to you. So the quote is, you can never outrun the fork. Can you please explain? Can you please explain this quote? Thank you.
I know. I'm pretty sure I know who it was.
Go on.
Was it Paul Kelleher?
Absolutely.
Paul is amazing, but I did a talk for him and his team once, and he was like, that is the best quote I've ever seen. So it's the same as you can't out-train a bad diet. Like for an athlete, training and like playing a game is the easiest bit. That's 10% of what you have to do, right? The rest is 90% that happens in the background. So that is your food, that's your recovery, that's your sleep, everything, your hydration. That's the hard bit. Showing up and playing is the easy bit, right? So like if you eat really, really bad and fuel yourself with bad food, like you're not going to be able to train the way that you should be able to train. That's why I say you can't outrun a bad diet. Like it doesn't work that way. A way that I explain it to people is like if you had your like ATM card, okay, and you're hoping that your company pays you whatever, and you put your card in and you get your money out. Like when you put your card in, your body is like an ATM. So if you put in like McDonald's, fast food, like confectionery goods, you're expecting to get energy out. You put your card in, you want energy out. You're not going to get any energy out of that. But if you put in like good, like minimal processed foods, whole foods, you're going to get loads of energy out. And that's what we want to kind of educate people on, is that you need the training, but it's so easy. But if you fuel yourself poorly, you're not going to be able to train the way that you want to be able to train. And it also, goes, people coming back to training, it's really, really important that they have enough protein in their diet, so that I know you're getting some of the S&C guys on that will go down that route, but to kind of minimize any injuries as much as possible, you want to have enough protein in your diet. So if you're going back to training, make sure that those protein levels are up. But yeah, you can't out-train a bad diet, or you can't outrun the fork, whatever. Paul loves that. Every time I see him, he says it to me. I knew it was him.
He actually said, say this to Hannah, you'll get a laugh over it. Absolutely perfect. Look, before we finish up, have you any other, like, do me a favor, plug your website, plug your company. You've put a lot of work into it. People need to go and visit the site. So
thank you very much. It's Next Generation Health. Instagram is Hannah Thornton, NGH, I think. God, I should probably know that. And then the website, probably should. The website's just nextgenerationhealth.ie. And we do, at the minute, we have loads. We're doing loads of athletes because we're going back to sport, and loads of teams as well. So if anybody wants any education or any one-to-one sessions, please let me know, or any team sessions as well, and we will fit you in. So yeah.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Hannah, look, thanks for your time. Really enjoyed this. I've plenty to go on. As soon as this is over, I'll talk to you about your tan. We'll get down to brass tacks. I've lost all credibility amongst basketball players worldwide.
Oh my God.
Hey, look,
I'm so
look, you'll be thankful for this as soon as we get off it. As I said, look, everybody go over, check out Hannah's page, follow her on Instagram. Amazing videos, amazing. Oh yeah, your strawberry jam, absolutely
oh, it's
fantastic.
bomb. Jam is so easy to make, and if you make it at home, it's very good. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I must send you over some recipes as well.
Oh yeah, you are a
Yeah,
chef. Ooh,
yes, I
yeah.
am. Right, so look, thanks a million, Hannah, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Thanks.
So there you have it, episode 2 of this week's Wellness Week podcasts. With Hannah, I thought it was a fantastic episode. Who knew we'd go from talking about fuel intake before a game to organic false tan. And if any of the other listeners need any advice regarding false tan, feel free to drop me a line. Look, get sharing, get liking. Let's spread the word around and get everybody back playing the sport that we love in the best possible way. And until Friday, this is Jago saying enjoy the sun, and I'll see you on the court soon.